Welcome to Learnersmate. In this video we are going to discuss the historical geography as well as the various names of ancient Odisha and its extent. The historical geography. The geographical importance of places in relation to historical significance brings forward the concept of historical geography. Historical geography essentially aims at the reconstruction of geography of a region of a period which has already passed. By putting together pieces of scattered evidence, all aspects of geography of that period can be reconstructed. The region now known as Odisha was known in ancient times under various names, the most prominent of which were Kalinga, Utkala, Odra, Tosali, Kangoda and Kosala. The Kalinga. Among the different political units of this ancient land, Kalinga occupied a prominent place. The fertile coastal plains stretching from the mouth of the river Ganges up to Godavari, with mountains and forests, gave a natural boundary to Kalinga. The name Kalinga occurs in the Puranas in association with Anga, Vanga, Undra and Sumha. In the Mahabharata there is an indication about the location and the extent of Kalinga. In the Vana Parva the sage Lomsa pointed out, this is the country of the Kalingas where flows the river Vaitarani. This evidence clearly indicates that the land now known as Odisha was included in the Kalinga country, but its extent in the Mahabharata age cannot be determined. The epic account also finds some evidence in the works of early Greek writers. In the description of Megasthenes, the river Ganges forms the eastern boundary of Kalinga. Pliny divides Kalinga into three parts viz. Gangarides Kalingae, Maceo Kalingae and Kalingae. Its southern boundary, as per Pliny's description, is limited on the bank of the river Godavari basing upon the Puranas like Matsya, Kurma and Skanda. The western frontier of Kalinga is supposed to have stretched upon the Amarkantaka hills on the river bank of Narmada. Thus, as per the Puranic tradition, Kalinga is said to have extended up to the Gangetic valley in the north, the Godavari in the south, the sea in the east and the Amarkantaka hills in the west. In the list of the 16 Mahajanapdas of the 6th century B.C. described in the Pali literature, Kalinga does not appear as one, but this does not mean that Kalinga did not exist as a Mahajanapada or a great state. In the 4th century B.C., Kalinga was under the suzerainty of the Nandas. In the 3rd century B.C., during the period between the Nandas and Mauryas, it slipped away from the fold of Magdhan imperialism. With Ashok's Kalinga War of 261 B.C., it came again under the authority of Magad. His special edicts, also known as Kalinga Edicts, at Dhauli near Bhubaneswar, are addressed to the Mahamathras and the Kumaramatya, Prince Viceroy, of Tosali, while his same edicts at Jogda in the Ganjam district are addressed to only the Mahamathras of Samapa. From these two inscriptions of Asoka now to be found in Odisha, it becomes evident that for the sake of administration he had divided the Kalinga country into two broad divisions, northern and southern. In the northern division the capital Tosali was situated, while Samapa formed the second capital in the southern division. The evidence furnished by Asoka's inscription thus clearly proves that Kalinga in his time included the entire region now known as Odisha, though its northern and southern boundaries cannot exactly be determined. It seems, however, that its southern boundary extended up to the river Godavari. The northern limits of Kalinga of Asoka's time cannot be determined. During the 2nd century BC the present state of Odisha was certainly known as Kalinga, as is evident by the fact that in the Hattigumfa inscription at Udaygiri near Bhubaneswar, Kharvela is described as Kalingadhipti. During his reign, Kalinga expanded into an empire, the extent of which is variously determined by scholars. We do not know when his empire became dissolved, but even after the fall of his empire the land of Odisha continued to be called Kalinga. By the 4th century AD, when Kalidasa wrote his Raghuvansham, Kalinga seems to have been divided into two regions, of which the northern region was known as Utkala. In the 4th stanza of his work, it is stated that the people of Utkala showed Raghu the path to Kalinga. In the Allahabad inscription of Samudragupta, it is stated that during his southern campaigns Samudragupta conquered Kottura, Pishtapura, Erandapalli and Devrashtra, which have been identified with Kothur in the Ganjam district, Pithapuram in the Kakinada district of Andhra Pradesh, Erandapalli and Yellamchili in the Visakhapatnam district respectively. In one of the earliest copper plate records of Odisha, known as Sumandala copper plates of Prithvivigraha, Kalinga as a Rashtra, kingdom, has found mention, but in the subsequent medieval epigraphic records the name Kalinga does not appear. This does not mean that Kalinga, as a geographical name, became extinct. It continued to be applied to the territory between Ganjam and the river Godavari in the subsequent ages down to the Ganga and Suryavanshi periods. Dantapura, one of the early capitals of Kalinga, has not been identified. Various suggestions made by scholars about its location and its identity still remains to be confirmed by archaeological evidences. Kalingangara, which was capital of Kharvela, has tentatively been identified with Sisuplagad near Bhubaneswar. The early Eastern Gangas established their capital at a place which was also known as Kalingangara, and it has been identified with Mukhlingam in the Srikakulam district by Mr. R. Subbarao, though there are also other suggestions for its identification. Kalingangara ceased to be the capital of the Gangas when Chodaganga conquered Odisha about 1110 AD, and he chose Katka, Katak, more centrally situated in his extended kingdom, as his new capital. The Utkala. The territory of Utkala has been narrated in various Puranas. Utkala appears in the Mahabharata in association with the countries of Odras, Mekla, Kalinga, Darshana and Andhras. Tradition associates the origin of Utkala with Vaivaswata Manu, who finds mention among the kings of India. It is said that Ilasudyumna, of the 10 sons of Manu, who became male and female alternatively, gave birth to Utkala, Gaya, and Puru. He distributed the portion of his territory received from Manu among his sons, and the land which came under the sway of Utkala was known as Utkala. This geographical name has also found mention in the Ramayana and is considered by some scholars to be older than Kalinga. Utkala has found mention in Kalidasa's Raghuvansham as a neighboring kingdom of Kalinga. The earliest epigraphic evidence of the extent of Utkala is got from the Midnapur plates of Somdatta, a feudatory of Shashank. The name Utkala is not found thereafter in epigraphic records for a long time. Towards the final quarter of the 7th century AD, the name Utkala appears in Adhbar plates of Mahanana Raja of Sasivansa, which includes Utkala in the early Somavamsi kingdom of Kosala. This geographical name also occurs in the copper plate grants up to the times of the Gangas of Odisha and Palas of Bengal. During the reigns of Rampala of the Pala dynasty and Chodaganga of the Ganga dynasty, the whole territory now known as Odisha appears to have been designated as Utkala. From the records of these kings it appears that Karnadeva, the last Somavamsi king, was driven out from his throne by Jayasimha, a lieutenant of Rampala, but he was reinstated by Chodaganga. Even now the name Utkala is applied to the whole of Odisha. The earliest capital of Utkala was Viraja, as is evidenced by the Soro copper plates. This place has been identified with Jajpur, where the shrine of Viraja still exists. Viraja has also been mentioned in the Bhauma copper plate grants. Gurdeva Pataka or Gudheswara Pataka, mentioned as the capital of the Bhaumas, was situated in its immediate neighborhood. The Odra. The present name of Odisha has been derived from the name Odra or Udra. it appears as Urshin or Ursfin in the accounts of the Muslim geographers of the 9th and 10th century AD. These geographers, who apparently collected information during the rule of the Bhaumakaras in Odisha, give the divisions of the Bhauma kingdom as Urshin, Mayas, Harkhand and Andhras, which have been identified with Odisha proper, Mahishya or Midnapur, Jharkhand, the hilly tracts of Odisha and Andhra. Thus, the name Odisha appears to have existed as early as the 10th century AD if not earlier. The Tibetan historian Tarnatha refers to Odisha as Odivisa, which is apparently a Tibetan form of Odisha. In the later Muslim accounts and in the early Odia literature, the name Odisha finds frequent mention. The geographical unit of Odra has found mention in different ancient texts. The Pali texts make repeated mention of Odka, and the Greek writers refer to Orites, which can be equated with Odra, mentioned in various Sanskrit texts. The Bhagavata Purana mentions Odra among the 6 sons of Dirghatamas by Queen Sudesna, after whom the land had been named. Pliny placed Orites near mountain Malus, which can be identified with Malyagiri near Pallahara in the peasant Angul district. Odra has also found mention in the Manusmrita, where it is associated with the Pondrakas, Dravidas, Kambojas, Yavnas, Sakas, Pardas, Palvas, Chinas, Kiratas, Dardas and Khasas. The earliest epigraphic records in which this geographical name appears as a Visaya or district are the Soro copper plates of Somdatta, from which it becomes apparent that it was a part of Uttara Tosali. Yuan Chuang mentions Odra or Wvcha not as a district, but as a kingdom, 7,000 li. From this description it appears that it was a big kingdom occupying the coastal strip up to the Puri district, from which the kingdom of Kangoda began. In his accounts of Odra, Yuan Chuang mentioned 2 important places, Chelitalo and Puese Pokili, of which the later place has been satisfactorily transcribed as Pushpagiri. Recently, some scholars have identified the diamond triangle, i.e. the Buddhist monasteries at Ratnagiri, Udyagiri and Lalitgiri, as the probable site of Pushpagiri. However, much research is needed for the exact location of Pushpagiri. In the inscriptions of the Somavamsis and other contemporary dynasties, Odra as a kingdom has also found frequent reference. The Tosali. Tosla or Tosli formed an important political unit in ancient Odisha. It has been described frequently in ancient Indian texts. It is mentioned in the Parisistha of Atharva Veda, along with Kosala, and the Puranas have associated the people of this territory with Kotlas, Nisadas, Trepuras, Tumuras, Valdisas, etc. The Jana text Avasyaka Niryukti mentions about this land as follows: Lord Mahabira, in the 11th year of his monkship, came to Tosli, where he was taken to be a robber and hit hard. From here, the venerable teacher went to Masoli, where too he was taken to be a robber, was arrested and brought to the king's court, but was released as the king was a friend of Mahavir's father. On his return journey from Masoli, Mahavira again came to Tosli. Here, again, he was caused great troubles and was on the point of being hanged when he was rescued through the timely interference of the Tosli Kshatris. In Asoka's inscription at Dhauli, Tosli has found mention as a city which has been identified by some scholars with modern Sisuplagarh, but Tosli or Tosla as the name of a territory also occurs in the subsequent literature and epigraphic records. In the Gandavyuha, a part of the Buddhist Avtamsaka, there is the mention of a country named Amita Tosla, the chief city of which was Tosla. Tosli as a territory has found mention in the copper plate records of Sambhuyasa and Lokavigraha, and it also occurs in the Bhauma copper plate grants. From these references it appears that Tosli was divided into 2 parts, northern and southern. With regard to the extent of these divisions, N.K. Sahu observes that the extent of the territories of both the Tosalis can be tentatively known from the Soro, Patiakela, Midnapur and Kanasa copper plates. The modern Midnapur, Mayurbhanj and Balasore districts as well as the northern part of the Cuttack district may be said to have formed the kingdom of Uttara Tosali, while Dakshina Tosali comprised roughly the modern Puri district and parts of Cuttack and Ganjam districts up to the river Rishikulya, and the river Mahandi appears to be the dividing line between the two territories. The Kangoda. Kangoda was another geographical unit of ancient Odisha. It was during the Salodbhava dynasty, Kangoda came into eminence. Kangoda may be explained as the land of honey, as Kongu in Tamil means honey. This was a mandala state and flourished in the 6th-7th century AD. It continued as parts of Kalinga and Odra. The Salodbhavas gave this Kangoda mandala, undivided Ganjam district, its true shape. The Chinese pilgrim Huan-Zhang, who visited Kangoda about 638 AD, states that this country was above 1002 in circuit. The country contained some tens of towns from the slope of the hills to the edge of the sea. Accordingly, it is presumed that it was about 200 miles in circumference and it was a hilly country bordering on the Bay of Bengal. By the time of Huan-Zhang's visit, Kangoda had emerged as a powerful kingdom under the Salodbhavas. On Huan-Zhang's observation, T. Wattis write that as the towns are naturally strong, there was a gallant army which kept the neighboring country in awe, and so there was no enemy. The towns referred to in the Huan-Zhang's accounts are Gudda, Kondenda, Somepura, Matrachandrapataka, Jayakatka, Devagrama, Nivina and Fasika. These towns have not been satisfactorily identified. Vijaya Kongodvaska appears to be the capital of Kangoda Mandala, which has been identified with modern Bankada in the light of the antiquities found there on the river bank of Salia. Harsavardhan, after the death of King Shashanka of Gauda, subjugated Kangoda. R.S. Tripathi observes that Harsa made this region a strong military outpost of his far-flung empire, probably with a view to preventing any foreign incursion on the borders, threatened as they were by the eastward advance of Pulkesin II. With the death of Harsa in 647 AD, Madhvaraja II, the Salodbhava king of Kangoda maintained his power and ruled for a long time, which is revealed by his Katak charter. Thus, Kangoda got back her independence shortly after the death of Harsavardhan. With the fall of the Salodbhavas, in the first half of the 8th century AD, Kangoda Mandala lost its glory. Subsequently, it was reduced to a Visaya district of Dakshina Tosali when the Bhaumakaras emerged as a dominant political power and united both the Tosalis i North Tosali and South Tosali. The Kosala. Kosala as a geographical unit was existed in ancient Odisha. The earliest depiction of Kosala is found in the Parisistha of the Atharvaveda. The epics and the Puranas also throw light on its ancient history. It was named after, like Kalinga, Utkala and Odra, an ancient people called Kosalas. The kingdom of Kosala was divided into two units, Uttara and Dakshina, from very early time. The territory of Kosala is attributed to a mythical origin. Rama, the prince of Kosala, being banished with his brother Lakshmana and his wife Sita, travelled south from Ayodhya to Prayaga. Travelling southwest up to Narmada Valley, he came up to a place identified with modern Chhattisgarh area. He dwelt there for at least a decade. Parjaitar opines that his long stay in that region gave rise to the name Dakshina Kosala, South Kosala, after his original homeland Kosala. The Ramayana projects the fact that after Rama, the kingdom of Kosala was divided between his two sons Lava and Kusha, holding sway over North Kosala and South Kosala respectively. Shravasti was the center of political activities for North Kosala, while Kuswati or Kusthalipura, near the Vindhyas, was regarded as the citadel of political power for southern Kosala. Kosala also finds mention in the Vana Parva of the Mahabharata. Of course, The great epic remains silent about Uttara Kosala, which comprised the Ayodhya region. However, H.C. Raichaudhuri locates Dakshina Kosala in the territory comprising the modern districts of Bilaspur, Raipur and undivided Sambalpur. The Allahabad pillar inscription of Harisena includes Kosala among the territories of Dakshinpatha which were subjugated by Samudragupta. Kosala along with Mekla and Malwa formed the empire of the Vaktakas, and after their fall, it came under the grip of the Sarbapurias. Huenzang, who visited Kosala in 639 AD, described the kingdom as 6,000 li. As per the description, it may be presumed that Kosala comprised the districts of Bilaspur and Raipur in Madhya Pradesh along with the undivided districts of Sundargarh, Sambalpur and Bolangir in Odisha. Kosala remained under the Somavamsis in the 8th-9th century AD. At about the middle of the 9th century AD, when Kalachuris of Dehla became a rival power of the Somavamsis, the latter had to shift the center of their political activities to Sripura, which was captured by the Kalachuris subsequently. Then, the Somavamsis had to shift their headquarters to various places like Mursimkatka, Arma and Vinitpura, identified with Mersing, Rampur and Binaka respectively, all in the Bolangir district. With the annexation of Khinjali Mandala, Yayatinagra became the capital of Kosala. The formidable Somavamsi king Yayatitu brought Kosala and Utkala under one umbrella about the middle of the 11th century AD, making Suvarnapura, at the confluence Mahandi and Tel, the capital of Kosala, and Yayatinagar, which was now at Viraja in Jajpur, the capital of Utkala. When the Somavamsi power declined away, the Telugu Chodas occupied Kosala towards the close of the 11th century AD. They were subsequently driven away by the Kalachuris, who established their sway over the region for a long time till the Gangas established their authority over this region, and their rule continued till the middle of 14th century AD. Removing them from power, the Chauhans rose to political prominence and made Sambalpur the center of their political activities. They became the overlord 18 states, Athragarha, comprising almost the whole Kosala country described by the Chinese pilgrim Huenzang. So, this is the end of this video. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. To get the note of this topic, please scan the above QR code or check in description to get the link. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day.